chaos, pandemonium, a literal circus. This is how moms have described bedtime to me at their house. Now, if you're anything like me, you want your evenings to be calm and peaceful. But if you have a 3, 4, or 5-year-old running around, peace is probably the farthest thing from your mind. But today, we are going to change that. Now, you know that we love our acronyms here at Awesome Little Sleepers. So today I've got 5 steps for you to create a more peaceful evening and bedtime routine for your kids. And you guessed it, the tips are going to spell out peace. Let's do it. Okay, so the letter P in our PEACE acronym stands for PrEP. First, let me apologize. If you can hear, my little dog is back here behind this gray blanket, and she's snoring. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I just wanted to explain what that was. Okay, so the letter P stands for PrEP. So kids do best when they know what to expect. So the better that you can prep them and have a really consistent bedtime routine so they know what to expect every night, the easier bedtime is going to be. The more consistent it is, the more you'll see that stalling start to fall away. And so I like it to be really consistent. And I also like to get kids involved in planning out the routine so that we make sure that it involves some things that they enjoy. It's not just like a mandate that we're putting on them. We want to involve them in the process. So make sure the routine involves some things that they enjoy, whether it's a tickle fight or tucking in their stuffed animals or something like that. Then I really like the idea of rating it on a list so it's real step by step. Because like I said, the more consistent, the more they know what to expect, the easier it's going to be. Now, something that I hear all the time is that people will say, oh, we've had the same bedtime routine for years, but my kid just won't do it anymore. Well, I think it's important for us to remember we don't have to keep the same bedtime routine for years and years. There's no right or wrong way to do a bedtime routine. And in fact, as kids get older, I think redoing the bedtime routine with their input is a great way to start to set up some boundaries. So giving them some input is really important as our kids get older. Let me give you an example. So I hear this all the time where kids start to ask for like an extra book. Let's say you always read 2 books, and then all of a sudden your kid is like begging you for a 3rd book. And you're saying no, every night because that's not part of your routine, but it's starting to become like a tension point. Every night, it's going to happen. It may cause some tears or cause your kid to have a temper tantrum. It may be becoming a point of contention during the bedtime routine. So stop repeating that same cycle every night. Instead, try this. Have a conversation with your kiddo, not in the moment, but like the next day, like before bedtime, and say, hey, buddy, you keep asking to read a 3rd book. And I love reading books, so we can certainly add in a 3rd book if you want to. But we still have to get to bed on time. So if you want to add in a book, we have to take out something else. Then go back to your bedtime list and see what else your child might want to remove. So maybe they want to remove singing songs, or they want to remove tucking their stuffed animals in order to have time for a 3rd book. So that's a great way to give them some ownership over the process, and having their cooperation goes a long way to get them to collaborate and stop stalling through the whole thing. So PrEP is really important. All right, the letter E in our PEACE acronym stands for early bedtime. Now, if you've been following along with me on Instagram or watching my videos, I am always telling you to put your kids to bed earlier. I feel like this is such a miss. So many people are putting their kids to bed too late or not understanding the real importance of an early bedtime. As the evening ticks later and later, kids' sleep drive, their body's desire to fall asleep, is increasing. And in fact, there is like an optimal window, we call it like their perfect sleep window, where it's actually easier for their body to fall asleep. It's like the best time to put them to bed. And one of your jobs as their parent is to figure out what this sleep window is. And you're going to figure this out by using a combination of watching the clock and watching what I call their sleepy cues or their sleepy signs. Some of these signs can be sneaky. Some of these signs are pretty obvious. Actually, like yawning and rubbing their eyes is actually a sign that you may have missed their optimal sleep window, to be honest. That's like kind of an advanced sleepy sign. We want to be looking for what happens before they're yawning and rubbing their eyes. And it could be subtle. Some of these things are kind of sneaky. This is what I help families kind of identify. But something could be twirling their hair. This is what my older daughter, oh my God, she was such a hair twirler. Once she started doing that, I was like, okay, we got to like get to the bedtime routine. Some kids just get quiet. They stop talking as much. They kind of get disinterested. They kind of zone out. Some kids Their body posture becomes really lazy, like they're leaning back, they can't hold their head up at the dinner table, that kind of thing. And some kids get hyper. Some kids, they get the zoomies, right? They're just like running around, they can't stop. It's almost like maybe there was a moment where they were quiet, but then they just zoomed up again. That can actually be a sign of sleepiness. So when it comes to sleep, we have a saying, perfect timing produces no crying. And that's because when you find this optimal sleep window, bedtime can be so much easier. So our ultimate goal is if you have a kid under 6 years old, they really should be asleep by 8 p.m. I mean, like 90% of the time, that should really be your goal, which means their bedtime needs to be somewhere between 6:30 and 7:45, depending on their age and whether or not they're still napping. Understanding these sleepy cues is really important so that you can identify the perfect early bedtime. The letter A in our acronym stands for attention. Now, if anyone knows how to push our buttons, it is our kids. I don't know how, but I swear by the time they're like 6 months old, they're smarter than us. Like they fully understand everything about us and they can use it against us. I swear it's so true. But it's really important that you watch how you use your attention towards your children at night. I like to use this analogy. Think of your attention like a watering can pouring water on your kids' behavior. Your kids' behavior are like the seeds. Your attention is the water. And so whatever behaviors you're watering, those are the behaviors that are going to grow. Let me give you an example. Let's say it's bedtime and you're like, all right, honey, time to go to bed. And your kid is literally running away from you. If you chase them, that is a gain. So you don't want to do that. Instead, you say, okay, honey, time for bed. I'm not going to be chasing you tonight. I'm going to wait in your room, which is where we do bedtime. And I'm going to count to 3. And if I get to 3, then we are not going to be able to XYZ. Enter whatever negative consequence you want to there. We're not going to be able to go to the playground tomorrow because you're not able to listen to directions. Or we're not going to be able to watch Paw Patrol in the morning or whatever. Just any like little consequence so that they know that you're serious. They know that when you say it's time for bed, it's actually time for them to meet you in their room. It's not time to start a chase around the house that lasts for 20 minutes, okay? So your job is to keep calm, not give the chasing behavior attention. You set up the boundary, you're not chasing them. If you chase them, you are encouraging that behavior. Even if you're yelling the whole time, it's still saying to them, yeah, let's do the chase. You're really getting my attention right now. I am fully engaged with this chase right now. So instead, you're setting up the boundary. FYI, buddy, I'm not going to be chasing you tonight. I'm going to be sitting in your room. I'm going to count to 3, and then if you aren't here by 3, then XYZ is going to happen. You stay calm, and you are ready to give your kid your positive attention. When they meet you in that room before you get to 3, you're going to be like so excited. I knew that you could come in here, you silly guy. I knew that I didn't need to chase you around the kitchen. Okay, let's get going. So you pour on that positive attention when they do something that you want them to do. But it's really important to remember the first night you try something like this, if you've been chasing them around for a while, the first night you try to set this boundary, they're probably not going to come. They're probably not going to come in by the time you get to 3. You're probably going to get to 3, and then you're going to have to do the consequence. That's the important thing for you to remember as a parent, that the first time you set up a new boundary, your kid's probably not going to believe you because it's never happened before, right? So they're probably going to test that boundary. Are you serious? And so your job is to say, yes, I am serious. Be prepared that first night or 2, you may get to 3 and your kid may have to have the consequence. So make the consequence something reasonable. Don't say like, we're not going to a birthday party on Saturday, because you probably are going to want to go to the birthday party. So make sure the consequence is something you can actually fulfill on. And then the last thing I'm going to say about this is no counting slowly or counting half numbers. We're all guilty of this, okay? I've done this many times. 1, 2, 2.5. I'm almost to 3. No, we're not doing any of that. That doesn't help the situation. In fact, it just degrades your parental authority in the situation. You're just going to count normal. 1, 2, 3, and then that's done. So it can be tough, but the more you get consistent with that, the much smoother your evenings are going to be. So that's our letter A. It stands for attention. The letter C in our PEACE acronym stands for consistency. So like I mentioned before, we were talking about prep, kids do better when they know what to expect. That's why daycares often have like a list of activities that are going to happen during the day so that kids know what to expect, right? When they come in, their lunchbox goes in a certain spot every day. It's the same spot. When they nap, they put their cot in the same spot. Oftentimes, elementary schools have assigned seats in the lunchroom so kids know where they're going to sit. They know who they're going to sit next to. They come in every day. They go to the same class. They may sit in the same desk every day. That really helps kids understand what's going to happen and feel safe and comfortable in their environment. So imagine if you sent your kid to a daycare or a preschool and every day they were going to a different classroom with a different teacher with just barking out random activities and there was no structure to their day. It would actually literally be chaos. So I want you to think about trying to set up your evenings like how they set things up at your kids' preschool, where it's like very organized and structured and consistent. And there's some general things that happen at the same general times. So as much as you can, keep that similar in the evenings. So whether it's, you come home and you have some playtime, maybe then you have dinner, then you watch a show, and then you start the bedtime routine, where it's just the same kind of general structure every night that really helps kids feel safe and know that an adult is in charge. All right, the last letter in our PEACE acronym for a peaceful evening is the letter E, and that stands for earn a reward. Now listen, first thing I have to say is I know a lot of people don't like rewards these days because it feels like a bribe. And I certainly don't want our kids to just be doing things because they're going to earn some prize or some treat. That's definitely not the goal. I mean, I know that we want our kids to follow the rules because that's what they should do. They should follow the rules we set because we are their parents. But it doesn't always work like that, right? So I think of rewards as temporary. I think of them as a way to like jumpstart new good behaviors that we want to encourage. And when kids are working to change habits that have been going on for a long time, like especially if it's sleep related, like if they've been stalling forever and running out of the room and asking for snacks and doing all these curtain calls and needing mom to lay in the bed with them while they fall asleep, if those habits are well ingrained, it can be a little bit tough to make those changes, to change those habits. And so I really like to use rewards as a way to make the process positive and actually help build up our kids' pride and confidence. I know it seems like pride and confidence aren't two words that may necessarily go with sleep training, but when you do it the right way, it is. And let me tell you something, you have really hit the parenting jackpot when you can effectively set up some new boundaries for your kiddo that's going to improve the quality of their health and improve the quality of your family's life, and also make them feel proud of themselves. That is the parenting jackpot. And that is exactly what I teach parents how to do in my sleep course, Sleep Tight Without a Fight. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can visit awesomelittlesleepers.com/sleeptight. If you want to learn some really fun, calming breathing activities that you can do with your kiddo, check out this video.